Good evening, beloved. We are heading towards the end of day 14 of the national coronavirus lockdown in South Africa. Many people have asked me, why am I quiet in these times with the pandemic outbreak in the world, and why am I saying nothing about it? Beloved, the answer to that question simply is that often true wisdom requires one to be silent, not to run ahead of God or just assume that God is saying something about it, although we would expect Him to. There are many preachers running around now saying various things about the COVID-19 outbreak, and half of what they are saying is not from God, although they claim that it is. So I guess the question is then, why? What am I saying about it? My answer in regards to COVID-19 outbreak, the international lockdowns, I would like to summarize in one word: dependence. First of all, the panic in the eyes of the children of God is not only wrong, but sinful. The Bible tells us not to run around and panic, not to spread fear, or run around and spread all sorts of messages. The children of God simply needs to keep quiet, say nothing. All the panic and mania is not a sign of faith, but a lack thereof. The Bible teaches us in Exodus chapter 14 verse 14, "The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still." Problem is that we try to fight a fight against the pandemic that we aren't able to fight spiritually. No amount of prayer, declarations, anointing oil, or prophecy will help us to conquer. Only silence. And of course, dependence in God. The problem with Christianity is that we always want to ask God to take away our problems, rather than help us understand why God is allowing it to happen and what He wants us to learn through this. We are so used to our comforts that we simply can't allow anything to disturb it. See, the real problem is that we took away our dependence in God to the things God has created. We started worshipping the creation rather than its creator. We took our dependence away from God to the medical profession, our careers and money, and all sorts of material things and comforts. We are so comforted by our rat race, hurried lives, and everything time-consuming and controlling. Now that God took all of that away, forced us to live without those comforts and things we depend on, we choose to ask God not to take this time to show us what's really important, but rather for Him to give it all back. See, we seem to have forgotten the commandment of God that we will have no other gods before Him, and yet now that God Himself destroyed those gods, so we can focus on Him and what's really important, we choose to rather have those things because we depend on them so much. Should God help those infected with COVID-19? Most definitely. And sadly, for some that is no longer an option. Question is, are those of us that still have the grace gift of health missing the true lesson of this? Sadly, many of us will never see this as an opportunity or almost a second chance from God to get our focus right and look back to Him for what we need. COVID-19 won't last forever. But we have to consider, what if it does? What if it does last until nothing as we know it can any longer return to normal? What will we do then? Why did I keep quiet till now? Well, because I have to be still and know that God is God, and I have to trust His will. I want to encourage you, beloved, today. Remain hopeful, remain silent, stay strong, and let God fight this battle for you.